The 15-month wait-out period is gone. Are HDB prices going to go up? The 15-month wait-out period is officially gone. And if you own a HDB, you're not going to want to miss this. You might be wondering, more condo owners can buy a HDB now. Does that mean it's a good time for me to sell? For some HDB owners, this policy change could be very relevant. For others, it may make almost no difference at all, because this rule doesn't affect every HDB in the same way. So in this video, I'm going to break down what changed, who this new group of buyers could be, and most importantly, which HDB owners should be looking at their numbers now. Watch till the end because your flat could fall into one of these categories. Whenever there's a property policy change, one of the first reactions is more buyers means prices are going up. And I've already heard people say, condo owners can buy HDB again. HDB prices are going to shoot up. But that's too simplistic. This policy change doesn't suddenly create unlimited demand across every town, every estate, and every HDB flat type. What it does do is remove a major obstacle for one very specific group of buyers. And if your HDB is the type of home this group is likely to consider, that's when this policy becomes interesting for you as a seller. So first, what changed? Let's go back to September 2022. The government introduced a 15-month wait-out period for private property owners who wanted to sell their private property and buy a non-subsidized HDB resale flat. Imagine you're 48 years old, you're living in a condo, your children are older, you don't need much space anymore, your mortgage is still significantly high, and you've decided, I don't need the condo anymore, I want to right-size into a HDB. Under the old rules, you couldn't simply just sell your condo and move straight away into the HDB. You had to dispose of your private property, wait 15 months, and then only you could purchase the resale HDB. And that could mean renting elsewhere in between, moving twice, and paying additional rental. Most importantly, this could disrupt your entire family's housing timeline. However, there was an exemption for Singaporeans aged 55 and above purchasing a 4-room or smaller resale flat. But from 28 July 2026, the 15-month wait-out period was removed. So what can these buyers do now? A private residential property owner or a former owner can now purchase a non-subsidized HDB resale flat without taking a HDB housing loan and without serving that 15-month wait-out period. And there's another important difference. They don't necessarily have to sell their private property first. A current private property owner can purchase a HDB first and then dispose of all their residential private properties, whether in Singapore or overseas, within 6 months from the completion of the HDB purchase. That makes the transition from private property into a HDB much smoother. No more 15-month rental period, potentially no more moving twice, and far less disruption to the family. But the 30-month rule is still there, and this is where some people are getting confused. The government didn't remove every wait-out period. If a private property owner wants subsidized housing, for example, a new HDB flat, a resale flat with housing grants, a new EC from the developer, or if they need to take a HDB housing loan, the existing 30-month wait-out period still applies. So this doesn't mean every private property owner can suddenly buy any HDB tomorrow. There are still conditions. So who does this policy really help? The biggest group will really be the private homeowners who want to right-size or restructure their property holdings. Typically, these may be homeowners in their late 40s, 50s, or 60s. Their children are older, they don't need as much space anymore, or they might want to reduce their monthly commitments. Or they might have accumulated substantial equity in their private property and are looking to unlock part of that money for retirement. Under the previous rules, even if you wanted to move back to a HDB, that transition could be very inconvenient. And if you were relying on the previous exemption, your choices were generally limited to the 4-room flats and smaller. Today, that barrier has been removed for buyers buying a non-subsidized resale HDB without the HDB loan. And this is where the policy starts becoming relevant to you HDB sellers. Imagine you're selling a larger HDB. Maybe it's a 5-room flat, an executive apartment, or an executive maisonette. Or perhaps your HDB is in a mature estate, near to an MRT, close to good schools, and surrounded by amenities. These are homes that can appeal to someone coming from a private property who still wants space, convenience, a good location, and a comfortable lifestyle. Before this policy change, part of that potential buyer pool was effectively sitting outside the market because of the 15-month wait. Now, some of these buyers can enter the HDB resale market much more easily. And because the previous exemption was only limited to 4-room flats and smaller, larger HDB flats now might become more relevant to right-sizers who want to move out of private property without sacrificing too much space. Now, does that mean every 5-room flat or EA or EM is suddenly going to shoot up in price? No. But it does mean that selected larger and well-located flats may now have an additional group of potential buyers. And for a seller, the buyer pool matters. The bigger the buyer pool, the easier it is to exit. The timing is also interesting because this policy change isn't happening when the whole HDB market is surging. HDB resale prices declined 0.1% in the first quarter of 2026 and another 0.3% in the second quarter. That's almost after 7 years of price growth. And at the same time, we saw $491 million HDB transactions in the second quarter of 2026, a record. So what does that tell us? The HDB market is not moving as one market. Some flats are still attracting very strong demand, and others are already seeing prices stabilize. Which means if you're a seller, looking at the overall HDB price index isn't enough. You need to ask yourself this question. What are buyers paying for a flat like mine? What else can they buy with the same budget? How much competition do I have? And now, there's one more question. Has this 15-month wait-out period policy change created a new buyer pool for my type of property? If you're not sure whether your property falls into that category, drop me a message on WhatsApp with your HDB type and estate, and I will share the buyer profile with you. So, who should sell now? Not everyone. A policy change alone should never be the reason why you sell your home. But there are 3 groups of HDB owners who should be really looking closely at their numbers now. Number 1, if you were already planning to sell. Maybe your HDB no longer suits your family needs. Maybe you were planning to right size. Maybe you were considering upgrading. Or maybe you're considering retirement and you want to cash out and restructure how much of your net worth is sitting inside your home. If selling was already part of your next 3 to 5 year plan, this policy change gives you another reason to reassess your timing because your potential buyer pool may have changed. Number 2, you own a larger or a well-located HDB, a 5-room flat, an EA, an EM, or a property in a mature estate near to an MRT, close to good school, or surrounded by amenities. This policy change could be particularly relevant to you because these are the type of homes that may appeal to private property owners who want to right size without compromising too much on space or convenience. And here's why that matters. The larger your genuine buyer pool, the stronger the competition for your property will be. More qualified buyers means more opportunities for viewings. And more viewings means more opportunities for offers. And when multiple buyers want the same properties, your negotiation position will become stronger. And this is the buyer pool worth watching. Number 3, your HDB has already appreciated significantly. Maybe you bought your HDB many years ago and today you're sitting on substantial appreciation. And selling now could give you enough proceeds to move into a higher quantum property that better supports your next stage of life and your longer term financial plan. Because the question shouldn't be, how high can I sell my HDB? The real question to ask is, if I were to sell my house today, how much do I walk away with and what can those proceeds do for me next? This is where I come in. I will help you to work out what is your estimated cash proceeds, the price of your replacement property, your financing, your monthly commitments, and how much liquidity are you left with after the move. Because selling your HDB for a high price doesn't mean much if your next move leaves you financially worse off. If you're able to cash out, restructure your finances, and move into a property that gives you a stronger long-term position, then selling becomes a very different conversation. So, who shouldn't be in a rush to sell? If your HDB still works perfectly for your family, your monthly commitments are super comfortable, you love your location, you don't need more or less space, and selling doesn't clearly create a stronger next move for you, then there's no reason to sell simply because the 15-month wait-out period has disappeared. The policy may have changed, but that doesn't mean your plan has to change. The policy is just simply a reason for you to reassess your options, not so much for you to rush into selling your home. So instead of asking, the 15-month wait-out period is gone, are HDB prices going to go up? The better question to ask is, has the buyer pool for my property changed? And if I were to sell today, does my next move put me in a stronger financial position? And if the answer to both is yes, then this policy change may have opened up an interesting window for you. But you won't know that from just reading a headline in the news. Someone needs to run the numbers for you, and that's where I come in. If you're a HDB owner deciding whether you should stay, sell, or swap, I've put together a HDB seller guide that walks you through the 8 areas I would look at before making that decision. Things like your current property value, your estimated sale proceeds, how much will go back into your CPF for the refund, and whether your flat's price growth is starting to slow, what your next property could be, and whether making a move today puts you in a stronger position over the next few years. Drop me a message with the words HDB guide and I'll send you a copy. And if you want me to run the numbers for your property specifically for your estimated selling price, cash proceeds, CPF proceeds, and what your next move could look like, reach out to me directly. Because policy changes creates opportunities, but the right property decision is the one that improves your position. My name is Julia. Remember to like and follow for more property tips. I'll hear from you soon. Bye.